I can't believe it, guys. How wrong was I about Chelsea? Let's talk about it. So, long story short, at the beginning of the season, I posted a video about Chelsea and all the crazy decisions they were making in terms of coaching staff, transfer moves, and tactical approaches. I've got a fair amount of hate about how I'm pushing a narrative, how the attack is one of the best in the Premier League, or how Joao Felix is actually a good signing. So yeah, to get the full sense of what I meant 3 months ago, you can check it out on the Blue Card channel and then come back here where we'll be talking about the new Chelsea. The crazy thing is that I don't really know where to start. There's so many exciting things going on at Stamford Bridge at the moment and it's almost out of this world. However, I think Enzo Maresca really deserves the most credit. At the start of the season, the situation definitely did not look impressive. Yes, on the one hand, Maresca just won the championship with Leicester, but in the last 3 months of the 2023-24 season, the Foxes were in shaky form. Just 6 wins from their last 14 games, and they were on the verge of dropping out of first place. There were even some stats that suggested, hypothetically, if the season had started in February, Leicester wouldn't even be in the top 10. So yes, the Foxes did eventually win the championship title, but Maresca's reputation was severely damaged. And you can definitely tell that this hurt his ego, because after all, we're talking about a man who won the Premier League as Guardiola's assistant and received all the praise in the world from one of the greats. Then, enter Chelsea, a club with a huge fan base who are tired of losing and who haven't seen the club compete for the title the last couple of years, let alone win it. Yes, they had an amazing time with Thomas Tuchel at the helm, but that has been more about tournament performances than domestic ones. Yeah, you get the point. The pressure on Maresca was arguably unlike that of any other Chelsea manager this century, but then, the Italians' attacking genius brought the magic. After their heroic 4-3 win over Spurs, Chelsea are now the most prolific team in the Premier League and 5th in the top 5 leagues behind only Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Atlanta and PSG. However, you can imagine what clubs Bayern and PSG are facing on a weekly basis, so you can do the maths yourselves on how impressive it is to score 35 goals in 15 in the world's toughest league. That's almost 2.5 goals per game since the start of the season. Not only that, but there's actually only one Premier League match in 2024-25 in which Chelsea failed to score, and that was the season opener against Man City. Since then, Chelsea have only gone upwards. But the big question remains, what's the secret behind this attacking efficiency? Well, breaking down this Chelsea side, the first extremely interesting detail is the right back and his fundamental role in the build-up. Originally playing in a 4-3-3 formation, Maresca's right back, Malo Gusto or Reece James, often inverts in midfield to form a double pivot, receiving the ball from the defenders and making the build-up more fluid. This has been the main narrative for most of the season so far, but against Spurs we saw a different experiment. Maresca opted to play defensive midfielder Moises Caicedo at right back. This, in turn, has allowed the Italian specialist to have an inverting player who can think faster with the ball at his feet. As we all know, there is less time to think in the middle of the pitch, as opposed to the flanks, and in this regard, Caicedo is much better player than Gusto. Yes, the French fullback has also put in some fine performances, but the experiment against Spurs proved successful. At half-time, the team reverted to their usual formation, with Malo Gusto coming on for Romeo Lavia, and Caicedo returning to his natural defensive midfield position alongside Enzo Fernandez. The big reason for this whole inverted fullback idea is it allows Enzo to push higher up the pitch while still being covered at the back. Because it's safe to say that Enzo has been Chelsea's most prolific player in the last month, as unbelievable as that sounds. A goal against Tottenham, a goal against Villa, a goal and assist against Leicester, assist against Arsenal, and a hat-trick of assists against FC Noah in the Conference League. A total of 9 involvements in the last month alone. It seems that divorcing your wife isn't such a bad idea after all, or at least if you want to take your game to the next level. Now, before we continue, please give us 5 seconds of your time and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching until now, you are surely enjoying it, so don't hesitate to show us your support. Thank you very much. The second key to successful Maresca-ball is to play 2 wide wingers, or in other words, 2 wingers who can stretch the pitch as much as possible. This is essential for Chelsea at the moment. Madueke, Pedro Neto, Sancho, all 3 have shown flashes of brilliance this season, and all 3 will surely be a key part of the team, at least as long as Maresca is in charge. Yes, they'll have to invest heavily in Sancho to make him a permanent fixture, but that's a topic for another video. Mihailo Mudryk is another player who ticks all the boxes of how a winger should play in Maresca's system, but the problem with him is that he doesn't seem to have the mentality to prove himself. He's been at Stamford Bridge for almost 2 years now, but still hasn't shown the full package. So So yes, wide wingers are essential for the Italian, and we've actually seen Chelsea struggle without any of the three mentioned. The last game in which neither Madueke, Sancho or Neto started was the EFL Cup defeat to Newcastle. Chelsea lost 2-0, but that wasn't even the most worrying thing. It was the only game in all competitions in 2024-25, apart from the aforementioned Man City game, in which Chelsea failed to score. The flags pointed Maresca in the right direction, and since then the Italian has started at least one of the three. So yes, the wingers are definitely working wonders for Chelsea this season, and fortunately, their integration has been rapid. Something that cannot be said for Nicolas Jackson. The Senegalese struggled big time in his first year, missing one sitter after another. Yes, we've seen the same thing in this campaign, but in the last 2 months, well, the boy's a different player. If you take the penalties out of the equation, Jackson is tied with Palmer as Chelsea's top scorer and is also 4th in the Premier League. That speaks volumes for the hard work he's put in over the last few weeks. In terms of his role, however, Jackson's ability to drop deep to receive the ball and create space behind his back for a teammate to occupy is key, and into that department comes star boy Cole Palmer. The England international had a bit of a dip in form in October and November, but is a different beast in the final month of this year. In the last 3 games, Palmer has contributed 5 goals and has been the most pleasing player to watch against Villa, Southampton and Tottenham. In the London derby in particular, he was literally unplayable. Apart from his 2 penalties, his solo play for Enzo's goal, a sort of dance in the Tottenham penalty box, was nuts. Really. He also wrote his name in golden letters in the history books. Firstly, he became Chelsea's most prolific player in a calendar year, scoring 37 goals in 2024, overtaking Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, who scored 36 in 2001. Even more impressive is his penalty record. The Panenka against Spurs was his 12th spot kick in the Prem, making him the player with the most penalties without a miss in Premier League history. And with all those performances, Chelsea have firmly and decisively entered the title race, even though Maresca strongly denies these talks.
You said consistently that you're not in the title race. Do you still maintain that?
Absolutely, yeah.
You're level though on points and goals scored and goals conceded with Arsenal, who are in the title race, so what's the difference?
That they have been there in the last 2 years, very close to City, and we were very far to City.
This was a post-match interview after the win over Aston Villa, but since then, Chelsea have picked up 6 more points and are now actually ahead of Arsenal. They are now on 31 points, 4 ahead of Liverpool with a game in hand, and 4 ahead of Man City. But that's not the best part for Chelsea fans. I don't know if you've seen the fixture list for the next 50 days, but it's sweet. Excluding the conference games, as Chelsea have more or less already qualified for the knockout rounds, the Blues have Brentford, Everton, Fulham, Ipswich, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth and Wolves until the end of January. 8 games, 8 must-wins for Maresca's soldiers. And just imagine the scenes if Chelsea managed to take 24 points out of 24 in that run. Yes, they could still sit second, closing in on Liverpool for the top spot. They could also comfortably sit first. And it's fair to say that Liverpool have a tougher run of fixtures ahead of them, with Spurs away and Man United at home in the space of 10 days around the festive period. Arsenal's position is also worse than Chelsea's, with Brighton away and Spurs and Aston Villa at home in consecutive match days. And to conclude, let's say we agree with Maresca that Chelsea are not in the title race. Well, we'll talk again at the end of January, Mr. Maresca. Until then, you have my apologies and my total respect for pulling Chelsea out of the mud. If you enjoyed that one, please don't forget to like and subscribe as always, or just check some of our latest uploads. I'll catch you in the next one, and bye bye.